fans as well, Stilian, which perhaps sums up overall just what tonight has been like here.
Yeah, a very different and strange Celtic Park tonight. You're right, Emma. Stuttgart fans were a lot louder. You've never seen opposition fans out singing Celtic Park. It happened tonight. I think that reflects to the players as well. You know what Neil talked about, you know what, the way Celtic play. I was looking for something else, and we were talking about with Neil is about personalities.
Yeah.
I mean, Neil, if a team comes, when we were playing, and because we've been players, and if a team comes here, you don't put pressure, you'll be on my face. You won't give a chance for me not to sort it out, to put pressure on the team, to make something happen.
Sometimes the players have to get the fans going, and that was apparent tonight, and they never did. You know, look, I'm not saying they didn't try or anything like that. They just lacked a lot of sort of power, a lot of intensity, certainly in a defensive capacity. I mean, they had a goal disallowed as well, which is borderline. We could have been looking at 5-1, Emma. It was far too easy, far too standoffish, no defensive diligence. And of course, you know, Kasper or Schmeichel didn't have one of his better nights either with a couple of the goals, but, you know, it's what was in front of him that disappointed me more than anything.
Yeah, we'll delve into that very, very shortly, because there are perhaps more questions than answers from a Celtic perspective after this one.
Was that out there tonight?
Yeah, it was difficult. I think just a tough game, but we'll go into next week and try and get it back.
What was so difficult about it?
That was just a good side, you know. They took their chances, and I feel like we could have had a couple more as well, you know. I think we were unfortunate with the scoreline, but the performance wasn't there.
Are you disappointed with the goals conceded tonight? Were they almost too soft for this level?
Yeah, always disappointed with conceding goals.
Is this tie still salvageable from your point of view?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Can you not let it derail your season?
It's definitely not going to derail our season.
And I imagine, obviously, much disappointment. What will be the words in the dressing room now as you head back in?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
I said, what will sort of be the conversations as you head back into the dressing room now?
I don't know. I'll have to wait and see what they say.
Lovely. Thanks for your time.
What do you think is more painful, the result or the manner they lost the game?
Oh, the manner.
The manner.
The manner for me and you. You know, we talked about it off camera. We talked
and for
about
Martin,
it.
I imagine, as well.
Oh, he will be devastated, you know. But the manner of the defeat, it was way too easy. There was a disconnect all night, you know, from on the pitch, in the stands, and there was no one to light the fuse. You know, everything. I know Kasper will get blamed for a couple of the goals, but anything in front of Kasper didn't defend well. It was too easy, and like I say, they had a goal disallowed for offside, which was marginal. It could have been 5.
And Leon Kerr was saying that they were a good team. That is good that you let them be good, because Celtic never really started in the front foot. I mean, there was a couple of issues out of the game. Maybe that could have affected. You can see Martin O'Neill probably, you know, not being happy with it. But at the end of the day, as a player, when you do an interview after European night, you have to enjoy it. Even if you lose a game, you lose games, but you have to enjoy it. You have to give yourself opportunity that when you come out of that pitch, that you feel proud and you say, I've done everything I can. And I don't think that Liam Schmeichel felt comfortable doing that interview, because I don't think that Celtic team left anything on that pitch, and they could be proud of that performance tonight.
Do you think...
That's a great point. You know, the first half of most games, look, you take the Livingston one, they could have been 3 up, you know, after 20 minutes. They didn't. They're not taking their chances. I thought their final, the start of the game, the set play delivery was poor, which is what they pride themselves on. Then towards the end, the shooting was erratic, the finishing. And when you come up against quality opposition, you've got to be on it. You know, you've got to find your best form. You have to raise your game. You have to find yourself. And from the off, whether, you know, the protest at the start had anything to do with it, this is Celtic Park on a European night. You've done well to get to this stage. You're playing against great opposition. This is as good as it gets. Go out and express yourself, but be a team. And for me, it was so disjointed, so open, and so easy for Stuttgart.
You've just mentioned Euro test from the stand with balls thrown. Now, what does that do to a player and the psychological place you've taken yourself to start a match?
You know, the pressure from the fans on the board towards the players has been massive in the last couple of months. You know, you playing one of the big European games, the manager's motivating you. That week you're training, you're preparing, and all of a sudden when the adrenaline is up there, when you're trying to get the game going, he stops for 3 minutes. It kills the atmosphere. The fans are expecting dynamic start. Like Neil was saying, you want to see Celtic flourishing and, you know, put in a performance. That's what the fans were doing. And all of a sudden, everything stands still. Even Matt O'Neill, you can see in his face, he was wondering what is happening. I'm just giving probably one of the best speeches in the dressing room. We've heard many of them. And all of a sudden, the game stands still. This is a big problem for the players as well. And they've been under so much pressure. And all of a sudden, they haven't found that intensity and that adrenaline to just kick on. They just stood still.
That's the thing, Neil. If you think back to yourself in the tunnel, you know, chomping at the bit to get out, you get out, the game kicks off. We can understand the fans want to make a protest and they're fully entitled to do so, but is there a better way to do it?
Possibly, but maybe that's the way the fans feel, that they want to get their point across or their voices heard. It doesn't help. It certainly doesn't help the players. It doesn't help the manager. And you can see the frustration. And then again, you got to get yourself, there's a lull, and then you got to find yourself again, your adrenaline, get going again. And then, to be fair, the atmosphere at the start after that wasn't great. Sometimes you have to create the atmosphere on the pitch for the fans, but they had to refocus and try and get going again. And all of a sudden, that adrenaline's dipped. You got to find yourself again. And was there moments in the first half when I thought, yeah, well, when they get the equaliser, albeit through a bit, you know, a mistake from Stuttgart, but they forced the equaliser. Negrin took it great, and then you're thinking, right, okay, can you go on from here? They never did. They never did. They never got a foothold in the game at any time. And every time Stuttgart went forward, the gaps were far too big, not getting close to people. And I mean, the second goal, they don't stop the cross, the couple of passes. The temperature of the game was so low, Emma. It's so the polar opposite of what we're used to at Celtic Park on a European night.
I think they scored at good times, actually. I was just saying in there, I don't think it's a 4-1 game, and I think we actually look at the game back, we had some really good moments. The goals come at good times for them, and it actually kills any momentum that we are getting in the game. I think the third goal is probably the one that kills us. We start the second half really well and looking to get back level, and like I said, the third one kills us. But listen, we have to keep going, we have to keep fighting. So many big games, you know, that won't define the season in terms of what we're trying to do now. Big focus on Sunday, and then obviously when we go there next week, we have to try and claw some pride back.
How much of a tough night was that for Kasper Schmeichel?
Listen, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone is off nights, and you know, Kasper's been amazing since he's come to the club. Really big part of our success. Big player in the dressing room for us as well. So listen, he'll dust that down and go again. We're always the same. Everyone's all in together. We win as a team and we lose as a team. So you know, there's no blame in terms of any of the players looking at him, etc. He's made so many big saves for us, and like I said, he'll bounce back for sure.
You are a team that are renowned for last-minute goals of late. Did you feel energy levels at the end were still where they should have been?
Well, I think we nearly scored with the last kick of the ball, so yeah, I think so. I think the momentum of the game, like I said, it swung. We were on top, we then lose a goal, we then try and build momentum again. And I think even at the end, we 4-1 down, we still create a chance right at the last minute to try and pull it back. So yeah, listen, for sure it's a difficult night, and we'll have to lick our wins a little bit, but come Sunday we have to be ready to bounce back.
Yeah, as you already mentioned there, you can't let it derail anything else that is happening this season.
Yeah, because it's such an important sort of 4 months left in the season. These European nights are great to be involved, and it's when you win the league and you do well, then you get these European nights. So we have to remember that that's the bread and butter, and the domestic stuff is where we want to be. We want to be challenging, we want to be winning titles. So like I said, we have to dust ourselves down and go again.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It's bitterly disappointing. It's not the Celtic way. I've been associated with the club since on and off since 2000, and I've never seen supporters treat a player who has distinguished the club, has won trophies and played in Europe and had a great career, you know, over the years. He had a bad night, and maybe he's had a bad couple of nights, but it still doesn't warrant that sort of treatment. So I'm really disappointed with that.
It's still in.
Yeah, it's human nature. We're looking for somebody to take the blame, and it seems that at the moment on the spotlight is Kasper Schmeichel. I don't think, yeah, he had a bad game, but overall, I don't think the team performed.
No, I agree.
There was players in front of
Yeah,
him.
this
Yeah,
is the big
totally.
problem. And you know what, some of the goals, yeah, he could have reacted better, but overall the team haven't performed at all. So to really pick up on Kasper is really harsh. And I think overall, it's a great interview from Callum. You know, he's defending his teammate. He knows how important Kasper Schmeichel will be in the next couple months, because he's a great goalkeeper. Played some outstanding games. He had a poor night, but it wasn't only him who's been poor. The team has been poor tonight.
Yeah. The halfway point, but what were your initial thoughts from the performance tonight?
Well, it's a tough evening for us, obviously. 4-1 is obviously on paper looks pretty poor. We were masters of our own downfall in many aspects, really. We conceded some very poor goals. I always felt that at one each we were well and truly in the game, even at half time, 2-1 down. And but it was a tough evening.
How tough was it for your goalkeeper tonight, Kasper Schmeichel?
Well, Kasper Schmeichel has made some great saves since I've been in at the football club. I know that there was a game against Feyenoord where we did brilliantly in him, but he pulls off a great save there. Otherwise, we may not even be playing tonight. So this is a collective. There's no doubt at all about it.
I did want to ask though, did you hear potentially any boos when he was sort of touching the ball?
Well, I didn't. If you tell me that's the case, I genuinely don't know.
So you're not worried about making a change or anything for the weekend in that area?
I will think about all sorts of things during the course of the game, but Kasper Schmeichel has done really well since I've arrived at the football club in the two spells.
Is this tie still salvageable from your point of view next week?
It's a tough ask. You're travelling over to a side who are fourth in the Bundesliga, who are very, very capable of winning this competition, and so they're a good side. And at some stage or another, Celtic will become a top quality European team. That's in the future. It'll be one of those things at some stage or another. But at this minute, our battles are elsewhere.
So you can't let this derail you from other competitions and things that you're fighting for this season?
Of course not. No, absolutely not. Our focus now is totally on Sunday.
And how do you envisage that you become that top team that you were just talking about in Europe?
Well, I'll tell you exactly. Right. Okay. First of all, it is very difficult for Scottish teams because there's no money in that sense. You're talking about Premier League teams, Bundesliga teams buying players for 40, 50 million and them not even playing, not even getting into the side. Players in the Premier League in the last couple of seasons have cost 75, 80 million pounds and are transferred for 40 million about 3 months later. So it's ridiculous. So we have to try and compete with that at some stage or another. We have to compete with that. That's the difficulty of it. You're trying to get players in at low cost, really, because there's no money. Eventually, if the SPL belonged to the Premier League, I don't think we'd have a problem.
And I did just want to ask one more thing about the protests that happened.
Cynicism.
No, of course. About the protests at the beginning there. The game was stopped after 15 seconds for sort of 3 minutes. Does that help on a night like tonight when you're trying to create the atmosphere? And, do you understand?
Anybody who thinks that's a good idea needs their heads examining. There's no question about it. Needs their heads examining. First of all, it sends out the totally wrong message. We're playing against Stuttgart. The game is hard enough. And they're coming here, and the problem is that way back some years ago, this was an incredibly intimidating place to come to, incredibly difficult. I've managed here where sides like Juventus were scared stiff of coming here, where top-class sides were scared stiff. That sort of thing does not help at all. There's been battles going on the stand, all sorts of things really, but that doesn't help, because what it does do, Stuttgart here, who might be, to come to this wonderful football club and then find out that there's a lot of infighting going on and things being thrown onto the pitch at the end of it all doesn't make any great sense to me. It's just, if that's the case, because what it does, if I'm a Stuttgart player, I'm thinking, I'm pretty happy in this environment then, if that's the case.
Martin, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No problem.